So let's comparison between DJI Action 6, GoPro Hero 13, and Insta360 Ace Pro 2. Which camera is better suited for skiing and daily life vlog? Let's test image quality, low temperature battery life, and image stabilization in parallel. First, let's look at the DJI Action 6. This year's upgrade is significant, featuring a brand new 1.1-inch square camera, resulting in better image quality and low light performance, especially the variable aperture from f2.0 to f4, which allows for background blur effects even on action cameras. Finally, you can crop videos into various formats without rotating the camera, which is very user-friendly for both portrait and landscape video shooting, as portrait skiing videos are always more popular, right? Actually, their menu logic reveals each company's design direction. The Ace Pro 2 menu offers numerous modes and presets, even including dashcam mode and star time-lapse, incorporating all preset options. Although I find the menu a bit cluttered, the GoPro 13 menu is very complex, or rather highly personalized. You can set all audio and video presets on a full page of menus, but this adds to the complexity. The DJI Action 6, on the other hand, continues DJI's family design menu style, simple and without cumbersome options. The menus are categorized by functional shooting mode, with sub-menus for more advanced settings. I think this strikes a balance among the three cameras. In the same 4K 60 frames per second shooting mode, we compared the Action 6, GoPro 13, and Ace Pro 2. You can see that each camera has its own unique color signature. The Action 6 colors are more realistic and natural, straight out of the camera, and with D-Log M 10-bit, it offers more room for color adjustments and post-processing. The Ace Pro 2 colors are very vibrant, straight out of the camera. The GoPro 13 offers a 10-bit log option in 4K mode, so what you see now is the 4K 30 frames per second of all three cameras with super stabilization in ultra-wide angle modes and 16 to 19 frames per second mode. Which camera's colors do you prefer? From what I've seen, the DJI Action 6 colors are closest to what my naked eye sees. The Action 6 comes with 6 built-in filters, all producing beautiful straight out of the camera. We can also compare the image quality differences after cropping. The Ace Pro 2 and GoPro 13 share the same resolution. This new sensor ensures lossless image quality in both portrait and landscape modes. The Action 6 supports up to 4K 120 frames per second recording, while the GoPro 13 supports up to 5.3K 60 frames per second, and the Ace Pro 2 supports up to 8K 30 frames per second. When skiing, we often shoot slow motion footage. In normal playback, there's not a significant difference between the two. However, if you like to record cool actions, you can see the difference when they are slowed down at their highest settings. If you want to create a motion blur effect, you should slow down the frame rate and wear an ND filter to enhance the sense of speed. Manually selecting a large aperture of f2.0 greatly increases light intake and improves low light shooting capabilities. I've now opened the DJI Action 6 to f2.0, used night mode on the Ace Pro 2, and started recording on the GoPro, so you can compare the differences between these three cameras. In low light environments, the Action 6 has a more significant advantage in both image quality and stabilization. I compared the image stabilization modes of the Action 6, GoPro 13, and Ace Pro 2. These shots were taken while I was hand-holding these three cameras on a snowboard, which is quite heavy. There was some shaking, and I found the Action 6 image stabilization to be the most stable. Now in 4K 60 frames per second mode, we compared images taken in a shady area under a forest moving into bright light. A very noticeable rolling shutter effect appeared, which surprised me. Actually, since the Action 6 introduced the battery compartment design, I've basically said goodbye to battery anxiety when I go out. But skiing is still a very low temperature environment, and neither camera has overheating issues. Let's see how their battery life performs in sub-zero temperatures. At 4K 30 frames per second, the Ace Pro 2's battery was completely depleted at 78 minutes, while the Action 6 still has 26% battery remaining. Ultimately, the battery life at 4K 30 frames per second is 68 minutes for the GoPro, 78 minutes for the Ace Pro 2, and 118 minutes for the Action 6. In 1080p mode, the Action 6 can achieve a staggering 4 hours of battery life. The quick start shooting time is 0.3 seconds for the Action 6, 2 seconds for the Ace Pro 2, and 3 seconds for the GoPro 13. That's really outrageous, isn't it? I don't really need to worry about memory cards, and DJI's ecosystem is fully built with a 3-second connection to DJI Mini. If you're using this, since most of their batteries and accessories are compatible, I think complex camera movements can be easily handled. So now, goodbye from hiking. Okay, now I am back to home. Let's continue testing.
Okay, we'll come back first. Let's test Action 6 versus Ace Pro 2 and then GoPro 13 versus Action 6.
The biggest difference between the Action 6 and Pro 2 is that the Action 6 uses a dual screen design, both front and rear, supporting both framing and touch operation. The Pro 2, on the other hand, uses a flip screen. The front screen only displays parameters and is not touch sensitive. In everyday scenarios, the flip screen is indeed convenient for framing at low angles, but it makes the overall body thicker and heavier than Action 6. For action scenes, the DJI is more recommended because the added mechanical structure introduces more uncertainty. The DJI uses a 1x1 inch square sensor with a variable aperture from f2 to f4. The Pro 2 uses a 1.3 inch sensor with an f2.6 aperture. DJI supports 10-bit D-Log, while Pro 2 uses 8-bit analog. Both have a dynamic range of 35 frames per second, with DJI supporting up to 4K 120 frames per second and Ace Pro 2 8K 30 frames per second. The 8K 30 frames per second version does not support HDR, but the 4K 100 frames per second and 120 frames per second versions do. Without HDR, it's impossible to shoot high contrast scenes outdoors. Both devices deliver excellent image quality in bright daylight, with the main difference being color reproduction. However, at night, the Action 6 noise control and highlight suppression in low light conditions are, in my opinion, even better. The Pro 2 has 3 levels of image stabilization: low, medium, and high, while the DJI Action 6 has 4. What you see now is the lowest level of image stabilization for both devices. What you see now is the image quality after shooting with both devices at their highest stabilization levels. As you can see, DJI's horizon stabilization is incredibly powerful, especially for DJI users. Many batteries and accessories are compatible, so you can easily mount them. When shooting vertical footage, you don't need to use a camera like the Rabbit Dragon to achieve vertical shooting. Simply select the free crop ratio and you can crop the image in post-processing to get different aspect ratios. The Action 6 is the industry's first action camera with a variable aperture. Adjusting the aperture to f4 activates the starburst mode. The official recommendation is nighttime use, but in my testing, it worked well both day and night. In daylight, both devices recorded 4K at 30 frames per second, starting with 5% battery. After 45 minutes, Inspire indicated low battery with 5% remaining, while the DJI device still had 12% battery. At a room temperature of 25 degrees Celsius, neither device overheated.
Okay, now test versus GoPro 13.
The GoPro ability to shoot 8 to 7 OG videos. Well, DJI has also presented a complete 1:1 free cropping ratio, allowing for lossless cropping to 9 to 16 vertical video. We can then directly create horizontal versions in post-production. First, regarding dynamic range during daytime shooting, we used automatic mode. The Action 6 and GoPro were roughly equal in most scenes. However, in high contrast scenes, the GoPro showed overexposure in the sky and architectural reflections, while the Action 6 preserved highlight details well. In terms of sharpness, the Action 6 slightly outperformed the GoPro. We started shooting immediately without any settings. We found that the GoPro image was slightly darker than the Action 6, but it preserved highlight details better. Secondly, regarding image stabilization, GoPro's performance is slightly less impressive. Furthermore, when shooting selfies at apertures above f/2, both the Action 6 and GoPro 13 have their own unique characteristics. When shooting landscapes, when shooting portraits, the Action 6 f4 sensor produces a white to red hue, while the GoPro's image is slightly yellowish. The colors are more pleasing when magnified with 10-bit D-Log M and 10-bit GP-Log, while GP-Log shows a noticeable yellow tint. For landscapes, I think both have their strengths, but D-Log M is best. Aperture mode exhibits significantly better depth and detail in shadows. You'll notice the image appears noticeably cleaner. In the same scene, the f2 aperture increases light intake, and the Action 6 uses a 1/1 inch sensor, resulting in a substantial improvement in shadow performance. Shooting at 4K 60 frames per second, the initial impression is that both cameras produce similar images, but closer inspection reveals differences in color and detail. The GoPro 13 appears slightly grayish overall, while the DJI Action 6's image is more natural. In our 4K 60 frames per second test, the Action 6, benefiting from its 13.5 stop high mid-range range, produced significantly better sky shots than the GoPro 13, which is only 10 stops wider. The Action 6's image is also more delicate and smooth, resulting in a noticeable difference in overall visual effect. I've included comparison samples for you to see. In terms of image quality and color reproduction, the Action 6 is more convincing. This time, Action 6 is one level brighter than the GoPro 13, and this brightness doesn't compromise detail. The overall image adjustment is more precise, and the difference is quite significant. Nighttime performance is as expected. GoPro action cameras have always struggled with night shooting, while the Action performs admirably, especially considering the Action 6's 1/1-inch sensor. In this image, while you can clearly see your hand in front of your face, the water surface on the GoPro 13 is completely black. The Action 6's large sensor and wide aperture combination allows it to compensate for even dark scenes. For example, in this image, the sky is almost invisible in the GoPro shot, but the Action 6 still performs consistently well. This is already past 9 p.m. The GoPro 13 makes people appear darker with a spider-like effect due to poor algorithm, while DJI maintains a natural look.